All right, so you're thinking about law school. You've probably seen the movies, heard the stories, but what's it really like? That's what we're here to do today. We're going to decode the reality of it all, break down what you should actually expect, and how you can get ready for it. Let's dive in. So, here's the question that's on pretty much everyone's mind. Is it just more of the same? You crushed undergrad, so how different can law school really be? You go to class, you take some notes, cram for the final. Sounds familiar, right? Well, let's not beat around the bush. And I'm not exaggerating here. Thinking of law school as just a harder version of college is maybe the biggest mistake you can make. The entire way you learn, what's expected of you, the day-to-day grind, it's a completely different world. And honestly, it can be a huge shock to the system. So let's get into why that is. Okay, so the first and most massive change happens the minute you set foot in a law school classroom. It's a whole new academic universe, and it all boils down to one very specific, very famous teaching method. Yeah, forget about hiding in the back of the lecture hall. With the Socratic method, the professor isn't just talking at you. They're asking you direct questions, they're challenging your logic, and they're making you defend your arguments, all in front of your peers. It's an active and, let's be real, sometimes pretty intense public conversation. And this slide really nails the difference. See, in college, you can often get by as a passive learner. You listen, you absorb. But in law school, no way. You have to be an active participant every single day. The professor acts more like a moderator, a prober, than a lecturer. And that reading list? In undergrad, it's often a suggestion. In law school, it's not a suggestion at all. It's your absolute lifeline. Seriously, those daily reading assignments are the bedrock of every single class. If you skip the reading, you can't engage in that Socratic dialogue, you won't know what's going on, and you will fall behind fast. It's the non-negotiable ticket you have to punch just to get into the day's discussion. Okay, I know that probably sounds a little intimidating, but hey, the point of this isn't to scare you off, it's to get you prepared. So let's take all that what-if anxiety and turn it into a clear, actionable game plan. So what can you actually do to get ready? It breaks down into 3 simple steps. First up, connect with people on the inside. Talk to current law students, talk to recent grads. Get the real story, not the glossy brochure version. Next, be a fly in the wall. Watch vlogs from law students who are actually in the trenches and go to every orientation you possibly can. Get a feel for the culture. And finally, do your homework on the system itself. You've got to know the rules of the game before you start to play. Now, this brings up a fantastic specific point from our source. They mention researching the Philippine legal education system, but the bigger lesson here is universal, no matter where you are. You need to understand the specific framework you're about to enter. Whether that's the ABA in the US or another legal board, knowing the curriculum, the rules, and the expectations from day one is a huge advantage. You see, all this work, the talking, the watching, the researching, it all boils down to one simple thing: setting realistic expectations. It's about closing that gap between the law school you have in your head and the law school that actually exists. Having a realistic outlook is your best shield against getting overwhelmed and the true foundation for success. Which leads us right to the final verdict. We've looked at the challenges, we looked at the prep work, so what's the number one thing you should take away from all this? What's your real first step toward succeeding? And that's it, right there. Success isn't really decided on your first day of class or during your first big exam. It starts right now. It starts with the work you put in to truly understand the journey you're about to take. Real preparation is all about knowledge. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Now that you have a clearer picture of the reality, now that you understand this shift from passive to active learning, and just how crucial preparation is, what's your very first move going to be? Because your journey to law school doesn't really start with the application. It starts with how you answer that question.